welcome to Divine Horses and Humans. You are now in the round pen and you're watching the Pleader playlist, and we are working at Liberty. So we're going to work in horse time and not human time. So let's talk about human time. So that's dyslexic time. I'm severely dyslexic, so get my left and right mixed up. So this is my left, this is my right. 20 past 8, 25th of June 2025. So being dyslexic, I'm not a straight line thinker. And I'm here to, there's a big hole in the British equine industry, and that big hole is horses not being taught foundations. Horses not being taught to act like partners, yeah, because the way they do it here in the British equine industry, worked in it for over 25,000 hours, is all the bits, all the gear, and really no idea, because they overlook a very simple thing called a foundation that's hugely important. So when they bring their horse out, 9 times out of 10 it'd be wrapped up like a patient, it'd be all shiny and lovely and all that, because they think it's a Ferrari and they're treating it like a car, keeping it in a garage and locking it up. And what we need to remember, horses, fear-based animal, and they have to move their feet, right? They have to move their feet. So now she's given me 2 eyes, I'm going to walk up here and talk to you for a bit. Have to move their feet, right? That's how they've survived for however long. So she's sort of following me, so I'm going to use that, right? So you could call this join up, hook up, or whatever, right? But she's not actually sort of paying attention, is she? So, see, that little move, that's how sensitive and how switched on horses are, right? Just that little move of coming back here, and that's how she pushes through that, right? And this is what we need to teach her. Pleader's like the newbie round here. She was rescued, no longer used in polo because that's where she comes from. And so we talk about polo. One of the biggest things I saw, because I worked in that industry for a good 6 years on and off, and the rest of it was everywhere else. Been in the industry basically since 2010. They come very stiff in their neck because they're on running reins and they don't flex. And if a horse doesn't flex through its spine, right, they become very stiff in their mind and they become straight line, very like Roman road, I call it, Roman road mode. So pay attention. So when they become Roman road mode, right, it's just everything is straight on. So you can see that she progressively gets faster, right? Because why does she get faster? Because probably somewhere in the past that's how she's been schooled, yeah? I want more, because this is what happens. So if we're lunging horses, because that's all they've got here is lunging and long line, the horse progressively gets faster and faster and faster. How do they stop it? But no, they go, oh no, it's just fresh, or he's a little bit lively. They could make up all these excuses because they've had this animal locked up all night, yeah? They've had this animal in a box all night, and then when it does get turned out, it's in a paddock the size of a postage stamp, and it starts running around and being a horse and bucking and fighting. Everything's like, steady, woo, steady. Don't work. They're horse. They have to move their feet. And she obviously needs to move her feet. Why? Because she's a bit, I don't know, a bit fearful. You can see she's high-headed, right? But she's accepting this. That's good, right? And she's like, oh, I need to move my feet. I'm not going to die. And she's still not really breathing when she's moving her feet. You can see she's pretty, her jaw's tight. And it happens, Like Narenka's a prime example. Some days she'll do what we're doing in here and she will breathe. And other days she will just hold it. So that's the direction, right? So that's the direction. No direction ever yet. She's thinking about it. She's looking at me through her left eye. And she's like, well, where do I go? Where do I go? Because that's where I think a lot of the thinking does. Right now she's looking me in the right eye. So I'm going to go, right, I want you, no, I don't want you to go that. I'm going to push into her and then turn her. I don't care if she turns in the fence. I don't care if you're going to go, oh, that's disrespectful. Don't care. It's like, right, so we're sort of slowing down a bit, but we're still not maintaining gait and not really looking where we're going because she keeps cutting the corner of the circle there. But she's still like holding her mouth, she's still not breathing, and she comes back to that position again. That's a pattern. And that's what I see in the British equine industry, is these patterns, because I'm dyslexic. I see things that non-neurodiverse people will never ever see. And because I've done this thing, studied this thing that's called a foundation, right, you can get an awful lot done by not doing a lot. But no, here in the British equine industry, they've got to be rocket scientists. They are like working for NASA. Yeah, oh, you need to buy this bit, you know, you need to do this, you need a set of running reins, you need this, you need that. Oh, you need to buy this feed. Yeah, okay, feed to a certain extent can help things out, but there's nothing like an education and letting them move their feet. Right, but no, you're just blowing that horse out. You're just getting rid of the energy. All it's going to do is create it to be stronger. Well, I want my bond to be stronger with her. That's what I want. I want my relationship, my partnership to be stronger with her. Right, so if she's like, oh, I've got to leave, right, she can leave, right, because that's the thing. Us as humans, we're very good at closing our hands fast and tightening up and bracing up, and we're very good at having like a physical fight in an argument. So you could call that, people go, oh, that's a fight. Well, it's not a fight actually, because it's an argument. Very different thing, right? A fight is like, right, come on then, right, and bosh, have that, yeah, bosh, that's a fight. Let's make no ifs or buts about it. Completely different to having an actual argument, yeah? And I think a lot of terminology that comes out of your mouth, right, affects your brain, right, your thinking. So you need to first off go Google the sympathetic nervous system, right, and you need to Google cortisol. Cheers, I'm having a drink. And remember the other thing, patience. So if you want something different, you need to do something different. So if I keep saying to you, like, comment, share, subscribe, yeah? What difference does that make? I'm going to keep doing the same thing and I'm always going to get the same result. It doesn't make any difference because you've got a brain in your head. You can make your own decision, right? And that's what you've got to allow a horse to do, is make its own decision, and so it can make a mistake. So her leg's cocked, right? She looks a little bit more relaxed. Okay, her ears are back. I've not got a problem with that. I know a lot of, well, I've met a lot of people that would have a problem with it, and they would turn it into a big thing and go, that horse is being disrespectful, that horse is... And that's the thing. Humans take things personally, right? And they think it's a personal attack against them, and they think their horses are out there plotting with other horses at night, how to get the best of them and this, that and the other. Right, they're not. They're just being a horse there. Right, she turned into it, so I want a little bit more to there. Right, so we've got some kind of conversation going. Oh, we're good that side. Oh, we're good that side. So we've got some kind of conversation going with just body language and energy that I'm in control of the hindquarters. Right, and horses, make no ifs or buts about this, horses are very forgiving to human beings, because I tell you, there's no way I would forgive any human being for treating me the way that I've seen horses being treated. And this is where I say about all the gear and no idea. And I'll tell you a story of one individual I worked for in the industry that finished me off. Very high-powered individual, had a very, let's say a PhD, yeah. And she just didn't get it. She didn't get it. Like, we'd be working on that yard and everything would be great and hunky-dory, and then she'd turn up like a dark cloud, screaming and shouting, and all the horses would just disappear to the back of the box. And she would have branded every one of those horses. Oh, he's an idiot, she's a bitch. Every one of them had a brand. And it was like, she gave me what she said was a bitch of a horse, and she was an ex-GP horse, and she had locked up, because there's this thing in the British equine industry that two things either happen with these horses. They either lock up mentally, where I think they just shut down and they've had enough of being treated the way they've been treated, or they just blow up and they just won't let anybody on their back anymore because of the amount of pressure that they're put under all the time. Big horse, right, up here, withers were up here. And she said to me, that bitch in there nearly cost me my career, took the tip of my finger off. And I was like, oh, you've made it personal, haven't you? So anyway, she gives me the job of looking after her stable. It's a foaling stable. And so what I would do is I would walk into that stable and I would find she was better on the left than she was the right. So I would go and she would threaten to bite you. I'd go in and I'd go like that and I'd rub her on the wither, walk away, and I'd start getting on with my job, right? She was pregnant at the time, the foal turns up, and literally I keep doing the same thing. Foals are curious, aren't they? So foal would follow me around in the box and all that, and Mum would sort of follow, but I never would A, screw her in the eye, yeah, and B, I would never raise my hand to her. Because what I noticed that everybody else would go in there and they go, ee-yah, ee-yah. They would be aggressive and threaten her with violence. And when you have a thought process in your head of stuff like that, it does something in your body. And I believe that that's cortisol, because it's fear-based, and I believe it floods your system, it pushes your blood pressure up, it pushes your heart rate up, and it makes your muscles bigger. And you can see this with horses when they're out in the field and somebody's getting confrontational, you'll see the horse get bigger. Sympathetic nervous system, go Google it. Cortisol, go Google that. So yeah. So anyway, so I've got to work with this mare, and I'd take her out and bring her back in, take her out and bring her. So the foal turns up, and then I'm told to take her out, right? So I'm waiting for the boss to turn up, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to take her out because I've got work to do, because I hated standing around doing nothing, because that's the way I'm set up. So off I went, right? Foal followed, right? Foal will not leave Mum's side, right? Okay? Right, because that's how it works, right? It's Mum. They ain't going to leave. So I'd go and turn her out, come back, get screamed and shouted at, you should have waited for me, blah, 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 that foal could have taken off this, that. And she catastrophised the whole thing, right? So you might be sitting there watching going, oh, what am I learning here? What you're starting to learn here is about your mindset. Mindset is everything. That's where it first starts, right? And by doing what I'm doing here, a lot of this is mindset. Being in the moment, the present moment. Not living in the past, you're suffering with depression, or living in the future, suffering from anxiety. So anyway, so the afternoon comes, she says to me, go and get this horse. I'll be out there in a minute. I was like, righto. So off I go and get this horse. And it was a very hilly farm, 300-acre farm. And I call her. I call this mare down, right? And I'm like, right, come on then. I'm not going to say her name because MBAs and all that shit. And she come trotting down and foal followed. And in all of this, right, she comes down. I hear the gate go behind me and I'm like, oh God, it's the boss. So she comes down like this, right, this is N. Presents herself. I've got my head collar and my lead rope, junky old. Well, funny enough, she actually used leather ones there, so they weren't that junk. So in I went like this and caught her like you probably catch a horse. And just talking about that, I'll just demonstrate that to you. So this horse eventually would follow me around like this, and all I'd ever done was work in a foaling box, big foaling box, right? Being respectful towards her and her foal, and respectful towards her space. So this is the way that you should catch a horse correctly. Got some flies out here, love, haven't we? Right, like that. You have your rope on your arm like that, because you probably want to learn something, because it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, and it's more important, it's about the company you keep on the journey. So you go in here, you put your hand over here, you rub, go like that, you've already got them caught. Doesn't matter if they're up there, you can still do this, right? Because you go in, flick it over the nose, and you ask them to lower their head, and they lower their head, and then you get them to bend in. And I would teach most horses that I would go and work with in the industry this, because it made my life simple. So I've done that, and next thing I know, all hell lets loose with the boss screaming at me at the top of her voice, right? How did you do that? And I was like, do what? How did you get her to come down from up there, and how did you get her to lower her head like that? And I was like, I'd got to the point now in my journey where I wouldn't tell people how I saw it, right? Because I was obviously seeing things that other people couldn't see, right? Patterns, right? And I'd started to sort of work out this was to do with my dyslexia. And I told this boss of a lady that I was dyslexic, and she said, oh, it's not a problem and all that. But she went around telling all the members of staff I was a bit simple. Because when she wasn't there, I showed my hand a couple of times to a couple of members of staff, and they were like, wow, that's amazing. The boss thinks you're a bit simple. And I was like, why's that then? Because you can't read and write? You're dyslexic? And I was like, yes, right. So don't make me simple. It just makes me simply clever, yeah? A lot cleverer than everybody else, because I see things that other people don't see. And I said, she wants to class me as idiot. In my book, idiot means hybrid. I think outside the box. She hasn't got the ability to do that, because I've got the qualifications and I've got the money. You do as you're told. And this went on all the way back, taking this horse back to the stable. She went on and about, I want to know how you did that. Jason, you need to tell. And I was like, I didn't do anything, Debbie. I just like, oh, I said her name there you go. So she just couldn't get it. She just could not get it. There was another incident where a young horse, 4.5 years old, wouldn't go to the mountain block on the left-hand side, so I put him on the right-hand side, and she completely lost her shit. Her daughter was riding it, and why did he do that? I said, because he's unbalanced. You know, it doesn't matter, does it? She's on there, he's done it, he's dealt with it. Completely lost her shit. And then another part, with that horse that she had, that 4.5-year-old, I was told to put a saddle on him, and I said to her, oh, the saddle doesn't fit. And she's like, what are you talking about? I was like, the saddle does not fit. It's too small, it sits uphill, right? Went completely mad at me. Oh, I spent £4,500 of that. That's made by an Italian company. You don't know what you're talking about. And then a friend comes over from Holland and puts this saddle on the horse that's a horse expert, a professional expert. And she says, this saddle doesn't fit. And the boss says, oh, that's what Jason said. And she says, oh, you need to start taking notice of Jason because he knows what he's talking about. Oh my God, she got the right hump. I don't know what the woman's problem was. I really don't. But I kept experiencing this in the British equine industry. Because people can't do this. They can't just walk away. And like, as I said, horses, as far as I'm concerned, very forgiving. Very, very forgiving to human beings for some of the SH1T that human beings do to in the British equine industry is terrible. It's barbaric. If you were to do it to a child or an adult, they'd lock you up. And it's one thing about this particular individual that I work for that I was talking about. She was quite happy to dope horses, but she could not understand. She taught all her horses to trailer road through doping them, right? And when she took the youngsters out, she could not understand, right, why they would not perform when they got to the event. She could not understand it, yeah? Well, I don't understand why. It's because basically the way that she trained horses was by doping them. If a problem turned up in the sand school, she'd dope them. And then it'd all be like, oh, that's fine, you know, I like to call it, it's equine champagne. That's what I call it, absolute BS. BS. And that's where I'm here to talk about. There's a different way. I'm here to talk about the British equine industry. There's a big hole. There's a huge, huge hole. And that needs to be addressed. And certain individuals need to understand you can't treat human beings like the way you treat horses. Just because you pay that individual a wage, it does not mean you own their soul and they are a slave to you. But that's how the British equine industry sees it. I've had other individuals say to me, if I saw you walking down the street, Jason, I would pass to the other side of the street because you look like a thug. I do not understand how you get things done with the horse like you do. I truly don't. And as I said, and there's a value in doing all of this sort of stuff. There's a value in teaching the horse, I'm not going to trap you. But when I ask for something, you give it. When I tilt my head, you disengage. Right? Because they read your body language. Now I need you to get out of my space. So, time to wrap this one up. You can do all the jazz if you want to. You don't have to do it. Click on, click off, do what you like. Have a look down there. You're going to do what you're going to do. You've got a brain in your head. But the one thing I'm going to ask you to do, if you're still here, go Google the sympathetic nervous system and cortisol, A, in you and B, in horses. And it will answer huge things because it's not talked about and it needs to be talked about. So at that one, thanks for checking us out. We'll catch you all in the next one.